Chapter 1. The Last Delivery. The rain hadn't stopped since sunset. Sheets of it blurred the windshield as Adrian Reyes leaned forward, squinting through the downpour. His wipers flung water away in frantic sweeps, barely keeping up. Midnight was approaching, and all he wanted was to finish this last delivery, cash out, and crawl into bed. The glow of his phone screen lit up the dim car interior, displaying the address. 248 Hawthorne Lane. "Where the hell is this place?" he muttered, taking a right onto a narrow road flanked by trees. The GPS had lost signal minutes ago. His tires hissed on the wet asphalt, streetlights thinning until the world was wrapped in shadows. Then, at the end of the cul-de-sac, he spotted it. A large house, older, elegant, like something pulled from another time. Lights glowed behind heavy curtains, soft and amber like candlelight. Adrian pulled into the drive, engine humming low as he killed the headlights. For a moment, he just sat there. Something about the place made the hair on his arms rise. It wasn't fear, exactly. More like anticipation. He grabbed the pizza box and stepped out into the rain. The porch was covered in ivy, columns cracked with age. Before he could knock, the door creaked open. She stood in the threshold like a dream pulled from a novel, tall, poised, wrapped in a pale silk robe that clung to her form. Her hair was loosely tied back, strands falling across high cheekbones. Eyes, a striking hazel, fixed on him with mild surprise and curiosity. "You're late," she said softly, not unkindly. Adrian blinked, taken aback by her presence. Sorry? Rain's crazy. I didn't mean the pizza," she interrupted, stepping aside. "Come in, you'll catch cold out there." Hesitant, Adrian crossed the threshold. The air inside was warm, scented faintly of jasmine and something spicier, darker. The door closed behind him with a soft click. He turned to her. "You sure you ordered? This place wasn't on the map. The name on the order was just Isabelle. No last name." Her smile deepened. "I'm Isabelle, and no, I didn't order." "But maybe I was meant to?" Adrian shifted, his grip tightening on the box. "Meant to?" She gestured toward the parlor, where a fireplace crackled gently. "Strange things happen when the clock strikes 12. Maybe the universe decided I needed a midnight visitor." Was she flirting? Or playing a game? He followed her, heart thudding harder than it should. The house whispered with secrets. Portraits lining the walls, old books stacked high, a faint echo with every step, the kind of place where stories were buried in the floorboards. She sat gracefully on the edge of a velvet couch, legs crossed, eyes watching him with a hunger he couldn't quite name. She gestured to the seat across from her. "You can stay for a few minutes, can't you?" she asked. "You look like you could use a break." Adrian sat, uncertain. "I don't usually hang out with customers." "I'm not a customer," she said, voice silk and smoke. "And tonight? You're not a delivery boy." He should have said something, should have left. But something about her, about this house, this night, felt like a magnet pulling him closer. Outside, thunder rolled. Inside, tension hummed. Adrian placed the pizza box on the table between them, unopened, forgotten. Isabelle leaned forward. "Tell me something true," she said. "Something no one else knows." His breath caught. So it began. Chapter 2. Something True. Adrian hesitated. Her words hung in the air, gentle but heavy. "Tell me something true," she had said. And now her eyes, those hazel eyes with flecks of amber, were fixed on him, waiting, as though the answer meant more than he could guess. The fire cracked behind him. Rain drummed softly on the roof. He cleared his throat. Okay. Something true? Isabel nodded once, her face calm, unreadable. I almost didn't take this job, Adrian admitted. Last month, I was ready to quit. My mom's been sick, and I needed to move back in for a while. I told myself I'd stop doing night deliveries. Too risky. Too many weirdos. Yet here you are, she said, voice low. Yeah. His eyes flicked to her. And somehow, this feels like the weirdest delivery yet. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Do I seem dangerous to you? No, he said, too quickly. Then, slower. Not dangerous, but unpredictable. That seemed to amuse her. She stood up, walked to the sideboard, and poured 2 glasses of dark red wine. Life's more interesting when it's unpredictable. She handed him a glass. Adrian hesitated, then took it. You live here alone? He asked. I do. No roommates? No husband? There was a flicker of something across her face. Loss, maybe? Or memory? There used to be someone, she said softly, but he's gone now. He waited for more, but she sipped her wine and changed the subject. What's your story, Adrian? You're young. Smart eyes. You don't belong in a pizza uniform. He chuckled under his breath. Thanks, I guess. I was in school before, computer science, but life got complicated. Isn't it always? She murmured, studying him. You're sharp. You feel things. Most people your age are all ego and noise, but you watch everything, like you're waiting for something. He met her gaze. Maybe I am. A pause. A current passed between them. Warm, slow, electric. He wasn't sure who moved first, but suddenly they were closer. Her perfume swirled around him, jasmine, and something deeper, more dangerous. Then something clattered upstairs. Both their heads turned. The sound was sharp, jarring. A thud, followed by silence. Adrian froze. Was that? Probably nothing, Isabel said quickly, standing to smooth her robe, but her fingers trembled slightly as she touched the edge of the mantel. You sure? This house is old. Things shift. She looked at him, smile back in place. You're not afraid of ghosts, are you? He rose to his feet, alert now. I didn't think I was. Another sound upstairs, softer this time, like footsteps. He looked at her. Her face had gone pale. Isabel, he said slowly, are you really alone? She didn't answer. Instead, she walked to the foot of the stairs, peering into the shadows above. Stay here, she said. No way, I'm not letting you go up there by yourself. She turned to him. Their eyes locked. If you come with me, there's no turning back. The fire crackled. The wind howled through the trees. Adrian nodded. Together they began to climb the stairs, step by step, toward the noise, and whatever secrets the house still held in its dark heart. Chapter 3. Footsteps in the dark. The staircase creaked beneath their feet. Adrian followed closely behind Isabel, his pulse thrumming louder than the wind outside. The soft glow of the hallway lights faded as they climbed higher into the dark. Shadows curled around the corners, and the hush was so complete he could hear her breathing, measured but shallow. He wasn't sure why he was still here. He didn't even know this woman. But something about her, about this house, had a grip on him. It was like stepping into a story where each moment was more unreal than the last. At the top of the stairs, Isabel paused. The hallway stretched left and right. Doors closed tight like secrets. Adrian squinted into the gloom. Which room was it? He whispered. She pointed second door on the left. He reached out, brushed her hand gently. "Stay behind me." She hesitated, then nodded. Adrian stepped forward, heart pounding, and slowly turned the doorknob. The door opened with a groan, revealing a dark bedroom. Moonlight spilled in from a half-drawn curtain, casting silver across a large bed, perfectly made. Nothing seemed out of place. Then, a shuffle. Behind the armoire, Adrian's chest tightened. He stepped inside. "Hello," he said, voice steady. No response. He moved toward the armoire. The tension in the room was thick, electric. When he reached it, he took a breath, grabbed the edge of the door, and flung it open. Nothing. Just a tall, antique mirror inside, leaning against the back wall. Adrian exhaled. But then, his reflection moved before he did. He jerked back, heart slamming into his ribs. Isabel grabbed his arm, her nails digging in. "You saw it too?" she said, voice shaking. I think I did." The mirror was still now. Their reflections stood side by side, silent and still. Isabel stepped forward, her hand reaching toward the glass. "This mirror belonged to my husband," she whispered. "He brought it home from an estate sale, said it had a presence." Adrian frowned. "That noise we heard, you think it came from this?" She nodded slowly. "He used to say it watched him, that it whispered to him in the dark. I thought he was losing his mind." "Where is he now?" Her voice dropped. "Missing. 3 years ago. Vanished without a trace. One day he just never came back." The silence between them deepened. Adrian could feel the weight of the house pressing in. "Did you ever hear anything after he disappeared?" Isabel turned to him, eyes glassy. "Only on nights like this, when the storm comes, when I'm alone. And now, you're here." The way she said it, it wasn't an accusation, it was an observation, a confession, maybe even a plea. Adrian swallowed. "You think this mirror took him?" "I don't know what I think anymore," she said. "But I know I feel less afraid tonight, because you're here." Adrian moved toward her, slowly. She was trembling. He wrapped his arms around her, tentative at first, then tighter, as she let herself lean into him. Outside, thunder cracked. Inside, the room felt warmer suddenly, like the house was breathing with them. Their embrace deepened. Her hand slid to his jaw, her lips brushed his cheek, soft, seeking, questioning. He looked down at her, and for a moment, everything else faded. The mystery, the mirror, the fear. All that remained was her. He kissed her, and for the first time that night, nothing felt uncertain. Chapter 4. Reflections and Revelations. The kiss broke slowly, delicate, hesitant, and filled with things neither of them had the courage to say aloud. Adrian's hands lingered at Isabel's waist. Her breath was warm against his neck, her heartbeat fluttering fast beneath her silk robe. He held her close, as if protecting her from something neither of them could name. Then she pulled away. Not far, but enough to look him in the eyes. "I don't usually let people in," she said quietly. "I don't usually kiss strangers in haunted houses," Adrian replied, a half smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. She chuckled softly, but it faded quickly. Her eyes flicked to the mirror. "Do you feel it?" she asked. Adrian turned. The mirror was still. Nothing moved, but the air had changed again, heavier, denser, like the moment just before a lightning strike. "I don't know," he said. "Maybe we're both just tired." "Maybe," she whispered, but she didn't sound convinced. She reached for his hand. Come with me. There's something I need to show you. They walked down the hallway, past closed doors that seemed to breathe faint drafts of cold air. She led him to a room at the end, a study, with bookshelves lining the walls and a desk cluttered with papers, photographs, and old letters. Isabel rifled through the drawers, pulling out a dusty leather-bound journal. She opened it and handed it to him. The handwriting inside was spidery. Adrian skimmed a few entries. Most were mundane, but then one line caught his eye. I saw her again today, in the mirror. She's always watching, always whispering. Isabel doesn't believe me, but she will. One day she will. Adrian glanced up. Your husband wrote this? She nodded. He became obsessed. Said the mirror was a window, that someone was on the other side. Did you ever see anything? Once, she said, voice tight. It wasn't clear. A shape, a woman, standing just behind me when I looked in, but when I turned around, no one was there. Adrian's spine prickled. You never got rid of it? I tried, Isabel said. Threw it in the woods, it came back. Silence stretched between them. Finally, Adrian asked, Why did you invite me in tonight? I didn't, she said softly. I didn't order anything. I didn't know you were coming. But the order was placed from your address. I haven't used that pizza place in years. She looked at him. You think I'm crazy, don't you? No, Adrian said, and meant it. I think you're scared. She reached for him again, fingers curling into his shirt. Stay. Just for tonight. Please? He hesitated. What if the mirror really is something else? What if it's dangerous? Her lips brushed his again, soft as smoke. Then let's face it together. They spent the rest of the night in the study, curled on the worn couch, reading the journal by firelight. Every now and then, Adrian caught her glancing at the hallway, as if expecting someone, or something, to arrive. And in the dark reflection of the study window, just for a second, Adrian thought he saw a woman standing behind them. But when he turned, nothing. Just the two of them. And the echo of something waiting. Chapter 5. The Woman in the Glass. Adrian woke to cold air pressing against his skin. For a moment, he didn't remember where he was. The crackle of the fireplace had faded into silence. The journal lay open on the rug, pages fluttering slightly though the windows were closed. Then he felt movement beside him. Isabel was still curled against his side, her head resting on his chest. She stirred, lips parting in a breathless murmur. Did you hear that? She whispered. Adrian sat up. There it was again. A soft rustling sound, like bare feet dragging across old wood, slow, purposeful, coming from the hallway. They both stood. Stay here, he said instinctively. But Isabel shook her head. I'm not letting you face this alone. Adrienne grabbed a fireplace poker and crept toward the hallway. The sound grew clearer now. Closer. At the end of the hall, the bedroom door was open. The mirror glowed faintly in the moonlight, casting odd, shifting reflections on the floor. But something was off. The mirror was humming. A low, rhythmic pulse, almost like a heartbeat. The closer Adrian stepped, the louder it became. He could feel it in his bones. Isabel stood behind him, staring. It's never done that before. Stay back, he whispered, though he didn't believe distance would save either of them now. He approached the glass. His reflection was wrong. The man in the mirror was him, but not. His eyes were darker, hollow, and standing beside the reflection, where Isabel should have been, was a woman. Pale skin, black hair, eyes completely white. She smiled. Adrian's stomach dropped. "Do you see her?" "Yes," Isabel breathed. "She's back." Then the lights flickered. The woman in the mirror raised her hand and pressed it against the glass. Her fingers began to push through, distorting the surface like it was water, not solid. Adrian stepped back, fast. "Isabel, get out!" The mirror shattered with a deafening scream. Shards exploded outward, slicing through the air. Adrian threw his arm around Isabel and pulled her down. Glass rained over them like rain made of knives. When the silence settled, Adrian opened his eyes. The frame still stood, but the mirror was gone. Where the glass had been was now a gaping, pulsing void, a black tunnel that seemed to stretch into nothingness. Something was inside it. Isabel trembled in his arms. "That wasn't a ghost," she whispered. "It was her, the one he wrote about, the one who took him." Adrian swallowed, trying to steady his voice. "Then we find a way to stop her." She looked up at him. "Or where next?" They backed away, the shattered pieces crunching underfoot. But even as they left the room, the air behind them began to whisper. Soft, seductive, like silk tearing. Adrian didn't look back. Because deep in his gut, he knew the mirror hadn't broken. It had opened. Chapter 6. The past never sleeps. They didn't speak as they descended the stairs. Isabel's hand gripped Adrian's tightly, her knuckles white. The entire house seemed to groan beneath their weight, each creak and echo whispering that they were not alone. In the living room, the fire had burned down to embers. Outside, the storm had passed, but inside, the shadows only seemed to grow longer. "What was that thing?" Adrian asked finally, pacing in front of the hearth. Isabel sat on the edge of the couch, her eyes haunted. "I used to have dreams about her, years before James disappeared. She'd stand in the mirror, staring at me. Sometimes she'd smile, sometimes she'd speak, but I could never hear her." "You think she's a spirit? Like a ghost?" "No," Isabel said slowly. "She's older than that, older than this house. I found the mirror in the attic after James vanished. It wasn't there before." Adrian stared. "You mean it appeared?" She nodded. "She's tied to me somehow," Isabel whispered. "To my family, maybe. My grandmother used to say we were mirror-touched, that the women in our bloodline could see things no one else could. My mother dismissed it as folklore. I never believed it. Until now. Adrian knelt in front of her. "You said your husband vanished. What happened that night?" Isabel closed her eyes. "It was late. We had argued. He said the mirror was speaking to him, that it had promised to bring someone back from his past. He was obsessed. I went to bed angry. When I woke up, the bed was cold. He was gone. No signs of struggle. Just one thing." She met his eyes. His wedding ring, lying in front of the mirror. Adrian swallowed hard. "Do you still have it?" She nodded and rose, disappearing into the hallway. When she returned, she held out a small velvet box. Inside was a simple gold band, elegant, untouched, but the metal was ice cold. "Whatever's inside that mirror," Adrian said, "it's not done. That thing didn't break through by accident tonight. It wanted to be seen." Isabel sat again. "She always wanted something from me. I could feel it. But now she wants you too." Adrian tried to ignore the chill that ran down his spine. They sat together in silence for a moment, the crackling wood the only sound. Then Adrian asked quietly, "Why me?" "I don't know," she said, voice trembling. But she didn't appear until you came. A knock shattered the quiet. 3 slow, deliberate thuds at the front door. Adrian shot to his feet, already crossing the room. "Don't," Isabel hissed. "Don't open it." But Adrian had to know. He opened the door. No one was there. Just the wind and the black woods stretching out behind the driveway. Then he looked down. On the doormat was a pizza box. His heart froze. He hadn't brought a second order. He picked it up with trembling hands. The box was warm, fresh. Inside, no pizza. Only a note, scrawled in smeared ink. Entered, one must stay. He looked up at Isabel, whose face had gone pale as death. "She's not just watching us anymore," Adrienne said. "She's playing with us." Chapter 7, Ties That Bind. The note burned in Adrian's hands. He dropped the empty pizza box as if it were cursed and backed away from the door. Isabel closed it quietly behind him, the lock clicking with a finality that made them both jump. "Oh, entered. One must stay." Adrian looked at her. "What does that mean?" Isabel turned away, pacing. "It's a trade, a rule. She's bound by them. Every story, every nightmare. There's always a deal. The mirror never takes, not without giving something in return." "You think she traded James for me?" "I think," she said slowly, "she brought you here for a reason. Not just because of me. There's something about you, Adrian. Something she wants." Adrian frowned. "That doesn't make sense. I've never seen that mirror before tonight. I've never—" Then he stopped. A memory sparked. Quick, fragmented. A woman's face. Pale skin, long black hair, eyes white as snow. He blinked. "I saw her once before." Isabel turned, sharply. "When?" I was maybe 10. We were living with my grandmother in the country. She had this old antique mirror in the hall. One night, I thought I saw a woman in it, standing behind me. I screamed. My grandma smashed the mirror the next day." Isabel walked toward him, her breath quickening. "What happened to your grandmother?" "She died the same week. Stroke, they said." Isabel's voice trembled. "She didn't die from a stroke. She died because she broke a promise." Adrian's blood turned to ice. "What promise?" Isabel's eyes met his, wide and terrified. "To give her what she wanted." They both turned toward the hallway. The bedroom where the mirror once stood still whispered in their bones. "She's been watching you longer than we thought," Isabel said. "Maybe even before you were born." Adrian shook his head. "That's not possible. She doesn't exist by our rules." Then the walls creaked, low and long, like something heavy was crawling inside them. The fire in the hearth gutted out in a sudden whoosh of cold air, and the hallway lights went dark, one by one. Adrian moved instinctively, pulling Isabel behind him. "Get to the car, now!" They rushed toward the front door. But when Adrian turned the knob, it wouldn't budge. Locked. Not just locked, sealed. He slammed his shoulder against it, but it held fast. From upstairs, a sound echoed. Laughter. Soft. Female. Not Isabel's. Adrian turned to her, breath ragged. "What does she want from me?" Isabel's lips parted, but before she could answer, a voice filled the room. Not loud, not screaming, just soft, close, like breath on the back of your neck. "You already know." Adrian turned, and standing at the top of the stairs was the woman from the mirror. She was no longer just a reflection. She had come through. Her eyes were white and endless. Her smile stretched too wide. Her fingers, long as blades, caressed the banister like a lover. "Run," Isabel whispered. But Adrian couldn't move. Not out of fear. Something else. Something deeper. Familiarity. The woman stared at him like she knew every inch of him, like she had known him long ago, maybe always. "Foam entered," she said, her voice a song. "One must stay." Then she turned and glided back into the shadows. Isabel grabbed his arm. "Don't listen to her." But Adrian was already moving. Something inside him had changed. She wasn't just hunting him. She was calling him home. Chapter 8. Blood and Glass. Adrian couldn't sleep. Not after what he saw. Not after her. The woman from the mirror had vanished, but her presence clung to the air like smoke. The house creaked with every breath it took. Every shadow flickered with movement just out of reach. Downstairs, Isabel sat on the living room floor, surrounded by half-burned letters and family records. She had dragged an old wooden chest from her attic and pried it open. "I found something," she said as he stepped into the room. Adrian knelt beside her. She held out a black and white photograph, faded with age, edges brittle. In it, a group of women stood in front of a long rectangular mirror. The mirror. None of them smiled. One woman looked exactly like Isabel. "That's my grandmother," she said. But the photo was taken almost 100 years ago. Adrian stared. "She looks like you." She was 25 in this picture, the same age I was when I first saw the woman in the mirror. Adrian blinked. "The same age I am now." Isabel nodded. "It's not a coincidence." She pulled out an old birth certificate. Adrian's name was handwritten across the top, but the last name was different. His fingers trembled as he read it. "Why does this have my name on it?" Isabel whispered. "Because you're not just part of this story, Adrian. You're part of this family." He looked up, heart pounding. "That's not possible. My mother, she never spoke of her past." "She didn't want to," Isabel said. "Because she knew. She left to protect you." He stood, blood rushing in his ears. "You're saying that thing, that woman, has been following my family for generations?" "She feeds on love," Isabel said softly. "Obsession, passion. The stronger the bond, the more powerful the sacrifice." Adrian's chest heaved. "So, what? She wants us to fall in love, and then one of us dies." "No," Isabel said. "She wants you to give in, to choose her. And if you do—" Adrian didn't want to hear the rest. He turned away, ran his hands through his hair. The fire cast long shadows against the walls, dancing like specters. His breath fogged in the cold. Then he felt her arms around him. Isabel. Soft. Warm. Real. "I didn't ask for this," she said against his chest. "I didn't ask to care this much. But I do." He held her tighter. "Me too." They kissed, deep and slow. Nothing rushed now. Just fear and longing, and the feeling that this night might be their last. Then, a crash. The hallway mirror. Whole again. It had reformed. Adrian broke from Isabel and stared. In the glass, he saw himself. But behind his reflection stood two women, Isabel and her. The ghost's hand reached out, her fingers pressing through the glass once more. But this time, Adrian reached back. "No!" Isabel screamed, pulling him away. But he had to know, had to see. For just a second, he touched her. The room exploded in light. Flashes of memories not his own surged through his head. Fire, screams, mirrors cracking, children crying, a woman whispering in his ear. Then darkness. When he woke, he was lying on the living room floor. Isabel cradled his head in her lap, tears streaking her cheeks. "You almost crossed," she whispered. "She almost took you." Adrian stared at the ceiling. "I saw her," he said hoarsely. "I saw where she is. It's not just some spirit realm. It's built from us, from everything we've given her." Isabel's voice broke. "Then how do we stop her?" He sat up, eyes dark. "We don't destroy the mirror." He looked at her with fierce determination. We go through it. Chapter 9. Through the Looking Glass. The mirror pulsed like a living heart. Its surface rippled with dark liquid light, inviting and monstrous. The house was silent now. Too silent. Even the wind had fled the windows, as though nature itself feared what came next. Adrian and Isabel stood hand in hand before the portal. "You don't have to do this," Isabel whispered. "We could run. Leave the mirror behind." Adrian looked at her, eyes steady. "You said it yourself. She'll never stop. Not until one of us is hers. I'm not leaving this nightmare for someone else to inherit." He brushed a strand of hair from her cheek. "Besides, I'd walk through hell with you." Her throat tightened. "Then let's make sure we both come back." Together, they stepped forward. The mirror swallowed them. They emerged in a world of silver and black. A warped reflection of the house, twisted, endless, and bathed in moonlight that had no source. Walls stretched impossibly tall, doors led to nowhere, whispers slithered across the floor like fog. "Where is she?" Isabel murmured. "Close," Adrian said. "She wants us to find her." The hallway shifted around them as they walked, each step rearranging the world like a maze. Then, at the end of a corridor, they saw her. She stood before a throne of broken glass. The woman from the mirror, beautiful, ageless, terrifying. Her white eyes glowed like frostbite. "I gave you a choice," she said softly, voice like velvet over a blade. "One entered. One must stay." Adrienne stepped forward. "You don't own us." Her smile was slow and cold. "But you came willingly. That makes you mine." She raised a hand, and Adrian felt his body freeze, paralyzed, as though every bone had turned to stone. Isabel screamed and lunged forward, but the glass under her feet cracked like ice. "No!" Adrian shouted. "Let her go! Take me instead!" The mirror woman paused. Then something changed. Isabel stood tall, eyes fierce. "You want sacrifice? Then take this." She held out the gold wedding band, James's ring. The spirit recoiled. "This was your last deal," Isabel said. "You took him. And now you want to break your own rule? One in, one stays. Well, here's your bargain." She pressed the ring into Adrian's hand and clasped it in both of hers. "I love you, enough to fight for you." Adrian's body surged with warmth. The ring in his hand burned, searing into his palm. Light burst from between his fingers, pure white fire. The mirror spirit shrieked. Her throne cracked, the walls buckled, shadows twisted and screamed. Adrian flung the ring at her with all his strength. It struck her chest, and the world shattered. They woke on the floor of Isabel's living room, gasping. The mirror was gone. Only ashes remained. The curse had ended. Adrienne clutched Isabelle to him, heart racing. "You saved me." "No," she whispered. "We saved each other." Outside, the sun was rising. The first dawn they'd seen together. Hand in hand, they walked out the front door. Not running, not hiding, free.